What is up, everybody? How you doing out there? In this video we're going to be making some shrimp ramen from scratch. Okay, the only thing that we're not going to be making from scratch is the actual noodles, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Really simple. All we're going to be doing is making a shrimp broth, and then anything outside of that that we want to add, we can. Okay, so you're going to be using onion. This is a half of onion, a couple of celery sticks. We have a carrot here. Right here, these are just the stems from parsley. Usually we throw those away. Not this time. We're going to be using that. And we have a couple of cloves of garlic. And I have some shrimp here with the heads on. And that's important. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this, except for the parsley, and we're going to throw it inside a pot. We're going to be using one of my new pots here. In that new pot, we're going to be putting olive oil. But we're going to be throwing this inside our pot. We'll be taking this over to the stove. This is going to be for a broth. So this is actually when you want to use the vegetables that you have that don't look too good to present to people. That's what you want to do. You want to use the ugly ones, right? The flavor is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't look good to the eyes, but it creates good stock. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this on the stove, and we're going to go ahead and start sauteing this. While it is in the pan, we're going to go ahead and put some black pepper in here. Maybe a half a teaspoon of salt. Maybe a little less. We can always add more salt later. Go ahead and stir this around a little bit. We want this stuff to start kind of softening a little bit. We don't want to burn it. We're just trying to get everything to become somewhat translucent. It's about a good tablespoon or so of tomato paste. For the amount that I'm making, that should be good, but I'm a heavy tipper, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Everything that's going to be going inside of this to flavor it is going to be strained out. Okay, so you don't have to really be too careful about really anything. Now, as far as the shrimp, I got the shrimp to have heads still on. And the reason why is because that is where there is tons and tons and tons of shrimp flavor. You could put white wine in here, or you can put sake. And in this particular case, I'm going to be using sake because it doesn't have any sulfites and it doesn't have any gluten. And it means I'll be able to eat this. But this is going to end up deglazing the pan down here. It'll take all of those flavors up, and it'll add it to the broth. Here's a little bit of a tip when dealing with shrimp with the heads on. It actually makes your job easier. So if we grab one of these shrimp and we begin the cut from down here underneath, okay, about right like that, we don't cut all the way through. We kind of stop. And when we pull the body away, the whole intestine comes out with it. When we grab here and pull, the rest of it comes out. Now we don't have to cut into it to remove it. Okay, so now that I've got all of that in there, I want to stir the shrimp around, and I want these guys to cook. As soon as they start turning pink like that, I should say orange, is when we want to remove them. We're going to take the meat out, but we're going to leave the we're going to put the shells back in, okay? Because we're trying to extract all the flavor. Leave the heads inside there. Now, I had mentioned earlier that I used sake inside here instead of white wine. Traditionally, you would use white wine. And then for this amount, you might end up using about a cup, maybe a cup and a half, something like that. That's up to you, okay? I'm going to be making this a little different. I don't know if I'm going to add more stuff near the end or not, but I make things my way. Right now, what I have got going on behind this pot is I'm getting some eggs ready. Okay, so I put 4 eggs inside here uncovered and cold water, and I brought it to a boil. From there I had put the lid on it, turned the heat off, started counting. Okay, now I'm at sea level, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, okay, and then you'll have a somewhat of a runny yolk. You do 10 minutes, 12 minutes, you're going to end up having hard-boiled eggs. And I want to have it kind of a soft-boiled egg. So right around 7 minutes, 8 minutes is probably going to be good. Depending on where you are, if you're at a higher elevation, you're going to have to let it set longer inside there. During the time that I'm peeling everything, I'm going to add some liquid to this. And generally, people will use chicken stock, okay? I'm not going to add that much chicken stock. I'm only going to add maybe a cup and a half. And I'm cleaning them. So we have our chicken stock inside there. I'm also going to add water. Those parsley stems, we're going to throw that inside there too. And I'm going to bring this up to a simmer, and then I want to taste it. And I want to see if I have enough salt in there, if I have enough pepper, if I need to add anything else inside there. But as of this point right here, we're just going to let this cook for a long time, for probably a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Is with a little bit of soy sauce first. We'll mix that up, and we'll see if that fixes it. And if it doesn't, we'll just use regular salt. Also, I had put a little bit of Korean hot pepper in it to give it a little bit of a spice, give it a little bit of an edge, and a little goes a long way with that. That did the trick. So now we're gonna, ooh, that is really good. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna let this kind of simmer for about 30 minutes. And when we're getting ready to do the noodles, we're going to boil up some water separate, put our noodles in that, let that cook separately. And this is what's gonna get strained and put inside the bowl. This goes on top. So right now I've got some water boiling, and then that is going to have these types of ramen noodles thrown in it. 5 minutes, 8 minutes, somewhere in that area. You'll know when they're cooked. I've got some mushrooms down here. Generally the package will say that they are called soup mushrooms, but you can get them in the Asian market. And these I'm going to actually blanch real fast, just in case there was anything on there that could be remotely toxic. It's going to end up getting rid of it. As far as the eggs over here, these are the ones that are soft boiled, and as soon as the 7 minutes was up, I poured the water out and I put in cold water, and I kept doing it until it was cooled off. I should be close to where I need to be. I'm going to rinse this out so I can put the broth back in. I've got our ramen bowl here. And gently roll it, but you can't roll too hard because it'll tear the egg in half. But as long as the shell on this has kind of been somewhat detached from the white, it'll peel off pretty easy. And we will put a few ladles I'm going to throw some shrimp in here. Our egg. green onion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle some black seaweed and sesame seed on top. This shrimp broth is very potent, and this will end up blowing any other type of instant ramen away. It's choice. Anyway, let's have the first victim try this.